Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. Ed Woodward has come out and he insists that he's still backing Ole Gunnar Solsjaker 100% despite our disastrous start to this season. Obviously, we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. Obviously, we've only won 2 of our opening 8 games so far this season, and obviously reflecting on our disastrous start to the season, obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is under serious pressure with the football club. But Ed Woodward, still believes he can turn things around at Manchester United, and I think Solskjaer has been assured, that he will get given money to spend in January. Like I mentioned on my recent videos, I think we probably will do the vast majority of our transfer business next summer, so we'll probably look to bring 1 or 2 players in January. Because for me, everything, needs to improve at Manchester United. We need to be more clinical in front of goal. We've only managed, 9 Premier League goals this season in 8 Premier League games. And I think, the games we have scored in, we've only managed to score 1 goal prior to the Chelsea game. Because obviously against Chelsea, we scored 4 goals on the opening day of the season. We're also struggling, to register shots on target. Also our away form needs to improve, because we haven't won away from home since the PSG game last season. Obviously, when we did produce that miraculous comeback. I think it's 11 away games now that Solskjaer has had, without a win at Manchester United. Also, our home form needs to improve. The brand of football is absolutely atrocious. But like I mentioned, I think, due to our inconsistency, I think, everyone is to blame. Like I mentioned, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to take some responsibility, because obviously, his tactics are questionable, and I will admit, Manchester United are tactically inept, and I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the right man for Manchester United. Ed Woodward believes he has, the club's philosophy in that. He has the club's philosophy, and he has a lot of trust with him and that his young players. So I think these are the reasons why Ed Woodward is backing him. But in my opinion, I don't think he's the right man for the club, because I just don't think he's got any intuition on how to run a big club. Like I mentioned, he hasn't really got that managerial experience, not to the highest level, because obviously before he came to Manchester United, obviously, he was at Mould. He did win a couple of Norwegian titles with Mould, and don't forget, before he was at Mould, he had a really short tenure with Cardiff. He actually ended up getting Cardiff relegated, and he only managed Cardiff for around 30 games. So I just don't think he's good enough, because I don't think Solskjaer's pedigree is good enough. But he has to take some of the blame, and I do believe that Solskjaer will definitely be gone by Christmas. But a lot of the blame does stem from a lot of the players, because I do believe a lot of these Manchester United players do need reality check, reflecting on their bad run performances. Like I said, Ed Woodward has been a liability for several years. Obviously, a lot of Man United fans are demanding him out the football club. And, but in my opinion, I think the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board. Because, like I mentioned, the board have, been a liability for several years. The board didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough, during the course of the summer, as they did actually assure, he would have been backed during the summer. But I think, actually, the board are also backing him, because I think the board did assure at the start of this season that, regardless of what happens this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be safe at least until May, because I think the board realised, that they didn't back him enough. But, I think, also our recruitment, has, been very, very poor, for several years. Like Gary Neville was mentioning, not too long ago. And I think in the next, 3 to 4 transfer windows, our recruitment has obviously, got to improve. I think the depth in the squad, isn't good enough, because obviously, you can still see the deficiencies in the squad, and these still key areas, where Manchester United do need to strengthen up. I think, one of the priority areas is that midfield, and we're missing creative impetus in that midfield. And some people believe we need two central midfielders. I think we definitely need to get a striker. We need someone that can assure us goals. Someone that can be effective in the box. And we do need to recruit a replacement for Romelu Lukaku, because like I mentioned, I think we look so exposed in that attacking line. Following the departures of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez. Obviously, Martial's been out of injury, Rashford's been out of injury, not too long ago. So yeah, and like I recently mentioned, I think we need at least 5 to 6 more signings. If we are to be, back to being a competitive elite level football club, maybe we may even need more than 5 or 6 more signings. But reports came out the other week saying that Man United were prepared to back Ole Gunnar Solsjaker with 8 new signings over the course of the next 2 summers if he was still to be Manchester United manager. But yeah, definitely we need to see more players coming into the football club. Obviously, like I mentioned, a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, like I mentioned. But, despite the fact that a lot of players have left since his arrival at the football club, I still believe there is more problematic players at Manchester United that do need to be moved on in January and, of course, next summer, without a shadow of a doubt. But yeah, we'll just have to see, of course, who we can get in January. Solskjaer, may not be even here by January, but he's actually now making plans for the January window. We have got quite a few players on our agenda who we could go in for in January. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he wants to stick to the policy, of recruiting young British players, like he did do, of course, during the summer. And, like I mentioned, I do credit him, through what players, he did recommend into the club during the summer. We spent, nearly £150 million on, Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire. We have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. They've been absolutely fantastic. So it's... So it's good in the aspect, that during the summer that we did, address some of the problematic areas. We got that experienced centre-half in. We also got that right-back in. But, we didn't address all the problematic areas. But, we know the vast majority of Manchester United fans are demanding Solskjaer out. But, you're still getting certain Manchester United fans, like me. Well, I don't know if... Well, I'm still backing him a bit, not as much as I was. I'm actually starting to lose faith in him now. But he's still getting certain Manchester United fans, that are willing to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And, there's still some saying, we should give him at least a couple more transfer windows, to see who else, of course, he can recommend to the football club. Because obviously, you're analysing, the majority of this Manchester United team, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Obviously, the majority of this team is Jose Mourinho's, because taking into account Jose Mourinho, recommended 11 players into the Manchester United team, and Solskjaer now, of course, is inheriting the vast majority of them. So you can still, quite frankly, say he's still in the process of rebuilding. Obviously, you got Ryan Giggs coming out the other week saying that he needs to be given time. Rio Ferdinand believes that the football club, would be naive to sack Solskjaer. But yeah. But, I think, us getting rid of Solskjaer now, or just before Christmas, probably, wouldn't solve a lot of problems at Manchester United. But I don't think he's the right man for the football club. And I think, Man United have made quite a few mistakes over the years, but I think one of the mistakes we have made, it was obviously, giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. Because, like I mentioned, we should have waited until the end of last season, or we should have waited at some point until this season, to decide or not, whether to give him the job. And I do feel sorry for him in a way, because I think, the club have put him in a very, very difficult position. But yeah, he just hasn't got any intuition as a manager, whatsoever. And Solskjaer, has been at the football club now overall for around 10 months. So he has been here just under a year. And obviously you can say Solskjaer has obviously enjoyed the difficult 7 months or so with the football club, because obviously, since he did get the job permanently, everything has just seemed to have all gone wrong. Since he's got the job permanently, we've only managed to win 5 of our last 19 in the league, 5 of our last 23 in all competitions. It also got revealed that we've got the 4th worst record in the Premier League since he got the job permanently. It's only Brighton, Southampton and Watford that have got worse records than Manchester United. But yeah, and obviously, Solskjaer is on a 3-year contract. But obviously, I had different, thoughts, when we first recommended Solskjaer. I actually thought he was going to succeed at the football club because obviously he knows the traditions of the football club, the Solskjaer. Obviously, when he managed the Manchester United reserve team, he did watch some of this team at this day and age, grow and develop. And I thought he was going to do well because in that 3-month period, when he was the interim manager, he exceeded expectations. The results were good, the performances were good. He got the best out of these group of players, and like I mentioned, he did really, really well. He won 14 games out of 19 in total. But yeah, it has just seemed to have all gone wrong, since he has got the job permanently, and I don't think it will be long before he goes. Like I mentioned on my Man United Liverpool preview yesterday, can Ole Gunnar Solskjaer survive another defeat at the football club? Because obviously we've already suffered 3 defeats this season in our first 8 league games. Obviously lost away at Newcastle 1-0 last time out, lost away at West Ham 2-0, and lost at home to Crystal Palace 2-1, on the third game of the Premier League season. You got reports coming out the other week actually saying if we obviously do suffer a heavy defeat to Liverpool, he didn't assure he would be sacked, but he did say his job could be under serious jeopardy. I think it's actually the game against Norwich that could end Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United, because if we are to lose to Norwich, then I think he could be sacked. And obviously it's been revealed how much it will cost Manchester United to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and obviously we'll have to pay around £7 million to get rid of him. That's obviously around half than what we paid to get rid of Jose Mourinho, because I think we paid around 20 million. Was it around 19 or 20 million pounds to get rid of Jose Mourinho? But I think the board are only sticking with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at this present time is because obviously the noise of club legend. He was a great player for us for 11 years. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance and that. He has got that proven, pedigree and that as a player, but he just hasn't got it as a manager. So that's obviously, my element of concern about him. But you could quite frankly say at the moment, we are facing a relegation battle because Man United are only sitting 2 points above relegation. We're only sitting 2 points above relegation. We're sitting 12th in the league. There's some Manchester United fans fear that if Solskjaer, stays in the job for this season, that he could end up getting us relegated. But I do doubt that very, very much. Like I mentioned, we haven't been relegated since 1974, which is obviously not over 40 odd years ago now. But yeah, like I mentioned, everything does need to improve at the football club. And like I updated you yesterday, obviously you got Solskjaer recently meeting up with Gary Neville, and Solskjaer's actually come out as well, and he's actually defending. He's defending the club's current structure. He actually feels as though that we don't need a new director of football, Solskjaer, because don't forget, for the majority of the summer, we was in search for a director of football, and I didn't just say, that's one of the structural changes that we do need at the football club, because there was a few former Manchester United players, linked, with the role, during the course of the summer. Everett was linked to it, Rio Ferdinand was linked to it, obviously, Darren Fletcher and that was linked to it. And yeah, obviously there has been recent speculation about Edwin van der Sar, because I think he indicated out at some point in his future that he could return to the football club as the new director of football. And I did say it would be very beneficial to recommend someone who knows the culture of the club, someone who's got that experience, and someone who would be reliable to oversee our transfer business. And I think Edwin van der Sar definitely would be the right candidate, because he's done well at Ajax. He's actually the chief executive at Ajax. He's Edwin van der Sar. But yeah, so Solskjaer feels as though we don't need a new director of football at the football club. But yeah, like I mentioned, he's under serious pressure at Manchester United, and obviously, there's a list of managers on our agenda, who could replace Solskjaer at the football club. Obviously, like I mentioned to you, I've been giving you an update on him quite recently. Obviously, Max Allegri He's the club's primary candidate to replace Ole Gunnar Solsjaker. So he's the favourite, to be Manchester United's next manager. And obviously, if he does come in, obviously, he will be our fifth permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. Now, I think Max Allegri has actually indicated out, he's interested in coming, to take the mantle on at Manchester United. Reportedly, if he is to get the job at Man United, he wants to recommend Patrice Evra in. He's one of his backroom staff, because obviously Evra is a former Man United player. He also wants to recommend Mario Mandzukic and Emre Canning, who of course are two Juventus players. Well, it actually says anywhere regarding Mario Mandzukic that Man United have reached a verbal agreement with Juventus to sign Mario Mandzukic in January. Well, I think reportedly we pay around 9 or 10 million pounds to him. So actually, he is a cheap alternative. Reportedly, Man United are set to give Mario Mandzukic an 18-month contract. And we're set to pay him around 4.4 million a year, which obviously equates to around £85,000 a week. That's what it, basically equates to. And yeah, and he's only got you can say he's only got a couple of years left in his footballing career. Mario Mandzukic is now, of course, 33 years of age. But obviously, Mario Mandzukic has not, played one single minute of football, this season under Maurizio Sarri's guidance. Don't forget, Maurizio Sarri got appointed in as Juventus' new manager, in the summer. But Mario Mandzukic has been at Juventus a number of years, and he can score goals, he can lead the lines, and I think he would be able to show the likes of Dan James, Anthony Martial and Rashford, how to be more effective in the box. And he's still under contract, I think, with Juventus until 2021. He's Mario Mandzukic. He has scored 44 goals in 162 appearances for them. But yeah, I think he's the club's top priority for January. But either way, regardless, even if it is, Max Allegri as our new manager, he obviously, wants to bring Mario Mandzukic in. And I think he also... recent reports have also mentioned that, Max Allegri has been, learning quite a lot of English, like I mentioned, in preparation for his potential move, because obviously at the moment, Max Allegri's obviously never managed in the Premier League. He actually never played in the Premier League, and Max Allegri obviously, has been managing now for just over 16 years. He began his managerial career in 2003. He has been managerless, since the end of last season. Obviously, he stepped down as Juventus manager. Max Allegri did serve around 5 years with Juventus. Obviously, with Juventus, he won 5 consecutive Serie A titles. He also won 4 Coppa Italians. And he also got Juventus to 2 Champions League finals, and I think he's around 52 years of age now. But Max Allegri has actually so far spent the entirety of his managerial career in Italy. He also spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy. But yeah, he's the likely candidate, to come in as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's replacement. And reportedly, he says that Max Allegri has held negotiations with the football club, and I think his salary's been discussed quite recently. And I think if he is to be appointed as Man United's new boss, he will earn around £6.5 million pounds a year. There's obviously other managers on our agenda. Don't forget, there's other managers on our agenda that could replace Solskjaer. Obviously, there was recent talks, about Laurent Blanc. Obviously, Laurent Blanc's been managerless now for quite a few years. He's been managerless since 2016. Obviously, when he did step down as PSG manager. Obviously, don't forget Laurent Blanc was recently linked with a vacant managerial position at Lyon, but obviously, he didn't get it. But yeah, he's only managed 3 clubs so far during his managerial career as Laurent Blanc. He managed PSG for 3 years. He managed the French national team for a couple of years. Don't forget, he did manage Bordeaux for a number of years. That's where he began his managerial career. And during Laurent Blanc's playing career, don't forget, he did serve a couple of years with Manchester United from 2001 to 2003. He's not the likely candidate, but, he said recently, he was interested in coming in, to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. A lot of Man United fans were talking about Arsene Wenger the other week. A lot of fans, a lot of people believe, they think, he would be the right candidate for the football club. Wenger has been managerless for over a year. Don't forget he stepped down as Arsenal manager back in May 2018. I think he's turned down some offers, from the Premier League. I think he was at one point interested in taking over the Lyon job because obviously Arsene Wenger is originally, from France. But yeah, his legacy, was very, very good with Arsenal. He endured 22 years with Arsenal. I could say he had 12 good years out of the 22, when he was there. His legacy is totally comparison, to, Alex Ferguson's and that, you can't, Ferguson's legacy, is much, much better than Arsene Wenger. But obviously, they are the two longest serving managers in English football. But yeah, there's been a lot of people mentioning, Arsene Wenger, but I think it will be Max Allegri if Ole Gunnar Solsjaker is to be sacked by the football club. And Solskjaer's obviously our fourth permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era, and like I mentioned, we haven't really got the structure to keep sacking managers. Even though we have sacked 3 managers already since the Alex Ferguson era. But Solskjaer is definitely going to be the 4th manager sacked by the football club. And I want Solskjaer, to bring that fear factor back to Manchester United. I also want him to bring that winning mentality and that back to the football club. But obviously, I have got huge doubts about it. But like I mentioned, definitely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer cannot invoke Ferguson's legacy at Manchester United. No matter who our manager is, they can't invoke Ferguson's legacy at Manchester United. Because obviously, we had 20 odd years of success under Alex Ferguson, 26 years of success under Alex Ferguson. Obviously, he controlled the transfer policies. He controlled the contracts. Obviously, he also developed a lot of young players, did Ferguson, so you can take that into account. And like I said, I'm hopeful now this team at this day and age, can replicate, what the team did under Alex Ferguson. But we'll never be the team, that we was under Alex Ferguson. We have been a toxic football club now for around, 6 or 7 years. But like I mentioned, reflecting on the size and the potential of this club, and also reflecting on the money that's been invested into the football club, we should be in much more of a commanding position, than we're in now. Because a lot of money's been spent at Man United. Like I mentioned, I think in all the managerial eras since the Alex Ferguson era, around 700 or is it 800 million pounds that has been spent on players. That's just under £1 billion that's been spent at Manchester United, and that's not taking into account, what was spent under the Alex Ferguson era. But it's just a shame now in this generation, that the managers, don't get the time, that they would like. Solskjaer isn't going to get the time that obviously, he's demanding. Because obviously this is this generation. Back in the old generation, like I mentioned, the boards were nowhere near as ruthless as they are now, and managers, did get the time, that they would have liked. Don't forget, Ferguson, got given 4 years. Remember rightly, he didn't win out in his first 4 years and that, and he was actually on the verge of getting the sack, but he didn't. And then obviously, look what Alex Ferguson, went and accomplished in that. But, like I mentioned, last season was bad enough. Last season we finished 6th. Obviously, I think that was the lowest we finished. I think, since the David Moyes era, I think we finished around, was it 7th under the David Moyes era, or was it 6th? It was one of them anyway, but I think, it was actually 7th. We actually failed to qualify for the Champions League, and like I mentioned, when you're not in Champions League football, obviously, it's going to be harder to attract players to the elite level. But like I mentioned, always spending big on players and, getting them Galactico players doesn't always guarantee you success. And that's been proven with Manchester United in the last 6 or 7 years. Sometimes being sensible with your recruitment is the right thing to do. Definitely, more signings are needed into the football club. But, like I mentioned, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and, trying to improve at Manchester United, as I think you are all aware. Like I said, I think we are, considering, loaning, some young players out in January. I think, recently there was mentions of Chong, Angel Gomez and... Jimmy Garner going out on loan in January, because like I mentioned, not all the young upcoming players are going to become a success at Manchester United. they're not all going to become a success and that, I think there's only going to be a couple that are obviously, going to become a success. But actually the vast majority, or all of our young players, so far this season have been given their opportunities, which is obviously, very, very good to see. I can definitely assure that, Mason Greenwood, is going to be a success at Manchester United because, I think, he's mainly done well so far this season as Mason Greenwood. In the games he has played, he hasn't, started a game from the start yet in the Premier League so far this season. He has made 6 substitute appearances, but he actually did start in the game, against Rochdale and FC Stania, where he did score in them 2 particular games, so I will credit him in that aspect. And he's only 18, and he only turned 18 years of age at the beginning of this month, and I think by the time he's 23, 24, he can be a world-class centre. It can be a world-class centre forward for Manchester United, basically. But yeah, I have been very, very impressed with him. I can assure that, Alex Tuanzebe, will become a success at the football club because I think in the games he's played in so far this season, I think he's done really, really well as Alex Tuanzebe. And we have got quite a few versatile defenders. Tuanzebe is predominantly centre-back, but don't forget, he can also, play as a full-back. But I have been very, very impressed with him. Like I mentioned, Diego Dalot, he needs to be given more time at the football club. He has played around 2 or 3 games this season. He's actually sustained quite a few injuries this season, Diego Dalot. I think he's injured now. It wasn't too long ago, he had a groin problem, Diego Dalot. But obviously he's one of them backup options in that, right back position. But yeah, he needs to be given more time. McTominay, to be fair, I think, he's done really, really well mainly. Is McTominay a world-class, midfielder for Manchester United? No. But, I think he's actually, we've seen glimpses of how good he can be, this season. And actually, I'll credit him, he's deserved to keep his place in the team. I think he's probably had one bad game this season. That was the game against Newcastle, because him alongside Fred in that midfield in the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle, looked so exposed, to be quite honest with you. But McTominay, in regards to him being a long-term solution for Man United, I have got element of concerns about that. I don't know if he can keep the consistency up, but he is still only 22 years of age. And Fred, a lot of Man United fans have got element of concerns about him there. Don't think, he can, become a success at the football club, Fred. Obviously, Fred maybe does need more time, so you can take that into account because he's only been at the football club since last summer. Obviously, we paid just under £50 million for him, and yeah, we did overpay for Fred. And Fred's had the odd good, a couple of games here and there for Man United. He obviously hasn't performed to the same sort of level, as he did do at Shakhtar Donetsk. Obviously, he actually was an exceptional player at Shakhtar Donetsk and that. But for me, he does need to be given more time at the football club. But still got a lot of development in him. Chong, like I mentioned about him, I think it would be very beneficial to loan him out because I think he's totally a comparison to Mason Greenwood. Chong actually received loan offers a lot too long ago from PSV when his former club Feyenoord, but he actually turned these loan offers down because I think he wants to remain at the football club for this season. But and I think it said the other week he was in negotiations with the football club over a new contract. Would be beneficial to loan Jimmy Garner out. Obviously, Angel Gomez, he's another one of our midfield options. Obviously, didn't you say he's going to be a big part of the squad this season. We've obviously got Brandon Williams. He's another young upcoming player. Don't forget he did operate at left back in our 0-0 draw with AZ Alkmaar. But yeah, there is a lot of young upcoming players in the squad, but there's also a lot of experienced players in the squad. But I think, Ole Gunnar Solsjaker, he's definitely aware of his expectations at the football club. He's aware of that, and he's aware of that. And I initially said, I said it at the end of last season, and I think I also mentioned it at the start of this season that, our expectations this season, obviously, will be to get back into the top 4, so in that aspect, we can get back into the Champions League. And I've already disregarded the top 4, to be quite honest with you, even though it is still only early on in the season. I think if things do continue to persist like they have been doing, I think, we could struggle to finish in the top 8 this season. I think, Solsjaker, actually, fears that, if we do finish out of the top 6 this season, that, he will be sacked by the football club. But, I do like Solskjaer as well, because, he has got a lot of honesty about him. Obviously, he's aware and that, of what's going on. He's obviously aware of what's going on. But, analysing our squad, obviously isn't good enough to win the league. And like I mentioned, I don't think, we'll be winning the league for at least the next 3 to 4 years, maybe, maybe even longer, because obviously the squad's not good enough. I think the squad's definitely good enough for a top 4 finish, in my opinion. So you can't take that into account as an excuse if we finish, out of the top 4. But yeah, and I think, our aspirations, will be that top 4 in the next couple of seasons, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But, like I mentioned, if Max Allegri does come in or any other manager, obviously we're going to assure them a substantial amount, to spend in that, because obviously a massive, rebuild is needed at the football club. And like I mentioned, I think it's worse under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, than what it was under the Jose Mourinho era. It's even worse than it was under the David Moyes era, basically. And Man United have made mistakes over the years, like I mentioned. I think one of the mistakes was recommending Jose Mourinho when we recommended him in too late. We shouldn't have recommended him in at that point. For me, we should have recommended Jose Mourinho in after Alex Ferguson's retirement, because arguably you could say if we did recommend Mourinho in after Ferguson's retirement, then maybe in that aspect, it would have been a different scenario now with Manchester United. So that was one mistake Ferguson did make. Obviously, recommending David Moyes into the job and that. So he actually should have recommended Mourinho in, but I've obviously not given you the reasons, why it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho, is because obviously he had bad disputes with the board, he had bad disputes with the top players. Obviously the board weren't backing the signings that he wanted to recommend to the football club last summer. And obviously, his philosophy for the club wasn't right. He had no sort of transfer strategy. But it didn't work out under him. And he had a 2.5 year tenure at Manchester United in Mourinho. He's actually the manager that's had the longest tenure with the club since the Ferguson era, and he actually won the Europa League and League Cup in his first season with Manchester United and Mourinho. Obviously it was part of the bus football under him. Like I mentioned, there was some good, times under Jose Mourinho and that. There was, to be fair, but he just wasn't the right man for Man United. Obviously, Mourinho as well spent just under £400 million at Manchester United. Like I mentioned, under Louis van Gaal, we got rid of him after, we won the FA Cup under him. I think, Van Gaal, had like a year at Manchester United, if I remember rightly. Or, was it just over a year and that. But yeah, so things definitely, do need to improve at the football club. And, I know that Manchester United have obviously, got a lot of injuries. We do know that obviously we've got a lot of injuries. You can take that into account, but, you can't use that as an excuse, basically. We have got injuries, obviously. The majority of our players that are now out with injury, though, are expected, to be back for the game against Liverpool on Sunday. So, like I mentioned, Martial's expected to be back. Luke Shaw's expected to be back. Obviously Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw have obviously, both missed, the last 6 or 7 games with injury. They both haven't played since the 2-1 home defeat to Palace. Martial's been out with a thigh injury. Luke Shaw's been out with a hamstring injury. And, they are definitely two imperative players. Wan-Bissaka is going to be definitely back, which is very, very good news. And a lot of people believe, that Wan-Bissaka has been our most consistent signing so far this season. I think he has. He has missed the last 2 games for the club. Obviously, with the illness he's had, he has been out with tonsillitis. So it's assured that he is going to be back. Lindelof's going to be back, which is good, because I think he's done mainly well this season. I think he's had a couple of bad games as Lindelof. Prior to that, though, he's done well, and I think he has actually settled in alongside Harry Maguire in our backline fantastically well. But yeah, he's recently been out with a back injury. Bay's obviously still out. He won't be involved. I think Fossil Menzel's still out with injury. Obviously, as I did give you the news quite recently, obviously, David De Gea and Paul Pogba are both out, as Ole Gunnar Solsjaker has confirmed. Obviously, David De Gea he's out with a leg injury. I think he sustained the injury whilst he was on international duty with Spain. Spain drew with Sweden 1-1 on Tuesday night, and David De Gea had to come off in the second half. But yeah, that's a bad blow for the football club, and obviously now David De Gea will be missing his first, looking likely he'll be missing his first Premier League game for nearly 7 years. Hope. We didn't know at the first, the extent of the injury was unknown at the first, but I don't think it's as bad as we first feared. So hopefully he's not out for too long. So probably, obviously, with the absence now of David De Gea, we're going to have to go with Sergio Romero in goal. Obviously, Sergio Romero is our second choice goalkeeper. But David De Gea, I said overall, he's the best goalkeeper in the world. At this present time, he isn't the best because I think he's enjoyed a difficult 10, 11 months with Manchester United, but I think prior to that, he's had a good career. De Gea's been here 8 years. He's now into his 9th season at Manchester United, and I'd say he's had around 7.5 good years at the football club. De Gea, of course, is now not far away from making 400 appearances for Manchester United in all competitions. And obviously, David De Gea is the highest paid at the football club. He's also the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, because obviously David De Gea is on around 375 grand a week. But yeah, he will be a big miss, like I mentioned. I think Lingard is also not going to be playing in this game because obviously Lingard has been out with a hamstring problem. And I've been very, very infuriated with Jesse Lingard's performances. I think he's enjoyed them a really, really, difficult time this season with Man United. That's what he's enjoyed, basically. And like I mentioned, reflecting on his status at the football club, he should be putting much more better performances out. But yeah, he's been very, very poor. Like I mentioned with Pogba, he's had an ongoing foot injury that's been surrounding him for a matter of weeks. Obviously, I think he's missed 5 of the last 7 games, due to this foot injury, that he has currently had. But yeah, Solskjaer's confirmed, he will not be playing on Sunday. Recently, he said fitness staff do fear that, Paul probably could be out could be out until the end of the month or till the beginning of November and that. Like I mentioned, we have got games coming up thick and fast. After Liverpool, it's Partizan Belgrade in the Europa League. That'll be another particular game where I think Solskjaer will go more with the youth. We've got Norwich coming up towards the back end of the month. Then we've got Chelsea right at the end of the month in the Carabao Cup. So he could miss all them games, according to what fitness staff recently said and that. But maybe his injury now is not too severe, his Paul Pogba's. There's been a change of scenery because he did actually say, he could return for the Liverpool game. But reports did actually say earlier on this week that he could miss the Liverpool game. Obviously, he's a doubt, due to this ongoing foot injury. So like I mentioned anyway, reflecting on the injuries, we've had. Obviously, we've had to make alterations in the squad anywhere, as you all know. But Paul Pogba, like I mentioned, he's also another player that needs to step up to the plate, when he does regain full fitness, because analysing the majority of his Manchester United career since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016, he has been mainly inconsistent in comparison to his time, when he was at Juventus and that, Obviously, you got a lot of speculation, coming out the other week, saying that, Paul Pogba was demanding a substantial 600 grand a week from the football club, if he was, to stay at Manchester United and extend his contract. 600 grand a week, equates to around 30 million pounds a year. I can't see, Man United willing to meet his wage demands, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But this is, of course, what, Paul Pogba, was demanding. And I think we've held negotiation with Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, over the possibility of renewing his contract and obviously to discuss Paul Pogba's future at the football club. And Paul Pogba on his current deal at the moment is on around 290 grand a week, and Paul Pogba's got 2 years left on his current deal with an option of a further year, and 290 grand a week, which means he's still one of the highest paid players at the football club now as it stands. But yeah, I think his preference is still a move to Real Madrid, like it was obviously, during the course of the summer transfer window. Well, for the entirety of the summer, he was relentlessly linked to a move to Real Madrid. Definitely, it's very, very probable that, Real Madrid will reignite their interest in January. Like I mentioned, Real Madrid themselves spent a substantial amount during the course of the summer. Zinedine Zidane actually identified Paul Pogba as his number one priority target, but obviously, didn't get him in that. And he would have been infuriated about that. I think, Paul Pogba's move to Real Madrid didn't materialise during the summer, obviously reflecting on the substantial amount we put on him, because obviously, we wanted around, 180 million. Obviously, Real Madrid were reluctant to pay that. And we paid 89 million for Pogba, so we were demanding over double for him. But yeah, I still believe he's on his way out of the football club. And obviously, if he is to leave, definitely we are going to need an adequate replacement for him. But even if he is to stay, Paul Pogba, for this season or whatever, we still need, reinforcements in that midfield without a shadow of a doubt. But yeah, we have had a lot of injuries in that. But like I mentioned, Manchester United and Liverpool is the biggest game in English football, because obviously, they are the two most successful clubs in England, historically. And obviously, we are massive underdogs. Going into this game. Obviously, Liverpool are the red hot favourites. Obviously, Liverpool have enjoyed a fantastic start to this season. Obviously, Liverpool have won all their 8 games so far. They've registered 24 points for a possible 24. They've got a good lead at the top. They're sitting 8 points in front of Man City. Obviously, they're sitting 15 points in front of Man United. And I think it could be their year, of the league this season. I know it's still early on, but, like I mentioned, Liverpool have, come close on quite a few occasions to winning in the league. They was unlucky last season. Obviously, City won it by a point. Liverpool finished on 97 points, but that wasn't enough. And there was games, I think it was the amount of draws they had last season that cost them the league, to be quite honest with you. They came close back under the Brendan Rodgers era, if you do remember. Obviously, they had one good season under Brendan Rodgers. Don't forget they did come close back in 2009 and that. So they have come close on quite a few occasions. Liverpool have obviously never won the Premier League, as you all know, so obviously that's their expectations to win the Premier League. They haven't won it all for 3 decades and that. But there is still a possible chance that we could salvage something from Liverpool. There is still a chance, we could do this. We could salvage something only if we can, of course, play them out of our skins, because we usually do well against them at Old Trafford. Looking at it, Liverpool's record at Old Trafford, is actually very, very poor. They've only won twice at Old Trafford in the league in the last 10 years. Take that into account. The game was 0-0 last season between the both sides. Obviously, in that particular game, we had 3 of our players going off with injury. I think, Liverpool had one of their players going off with injury. I think Rashford also was limping on the pitch, but he actually managed, to see out, the full 90 minutes. But yeah, it's always a big game, Manchester United and Liverpool. And we know that, Liverpool are strides ahead of us at the moment. But I credit Liverpool, like I mentioned, they've done really, really good recruitment. They haven't been, they haven't overpaid for players, like I mentioned. They've been sensible with their recruitment. And, Liverpool didn't get anyone in the summer. But in the previous couple of windows before this summer, they did good investment. They paid, 75 million for Van Dijk. He's the best centre-half in the world. Obviously Alisson, I'd say at this current time, is one of the best in the world. Not overall, though. Liverpool have got 2 fantastic fullbacks through Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson that do like to bombard forward. They make good at making them overlapping runs. Liverpool have got a good midfield, and they've got a lot of midfielders. They have got a lot of midfielders. They've got Gini Wijnaldum, they've got Fabinho, they've got Milner, they've got Jordan Henderson, you've got Naby Keita in there. So they have got quite a lot of midfielders. And like I mentioned, they've got a great attacking trio in Salah, Firmino and Mane. I think Firmino and Mane are totally comparison to Salah, because obviously, Salah scores a majority of Liverpool's goals. Hasn't been in great form so far this season for Liverpool. And But yeah, so, you know, when Salah's obviously on form, Liverpool mainly think about, you know, playing him centrally instead of putting him out on the wing. But yeah, between them three, you know, they do combine well, and you know they do score goals in that between them, and they do create chances. So Liverpool have got a great attacking intent. You know, their brand of football is absolutely fantastic. So man, we've got to be really up for this game. Liverpool have had some injuries, like I mentioned. You know, obviously Allison's been out of injury. But he's expected to be back. You confirmed, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that Joe Matip is back in training for them. Obviously, Salah's been out of an ankle problem, but he's going to be set to start. You know, Nathaniel Klein, obviously they've got him out till January. He's obviously injury prone. He wouldn't be first choice anywhere for Liverpool. And obviously they've got Solsjaker out. I think he's had a calf problem. But yeah, I think if we can play out of our skins, you know, that's the only way, you know, we can get something off Liverpool, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But like I mentioned, you know, Jurgen Klopp, you know, hasn't, you know, really won much. He has won some silverware. You know, he won his first major on the last season with Liverpool, winning the Champions League. Obviously, before he was at Liverpool, he did win a couple of, you know, titles with Borussia Dortmund, you know, did Jurgen Klopp. So obviously, I've got to take that into account. His philosophy's, you know, right for Liverpool Football Club is Jurgen Klopp's. Obviously, he did struggle at the first when he first got recommended into Liverpool, and that he struggled at the first, but then obviously, you know, settled in and that. And believe it or not, some people believe that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know, can obviously, you know, and you know, can, you know, elevate, you know, into Jurgen Klopp basically. If he is giving her the time that he wants. But yeah, very big game indeed. I'm actually now going to go watch Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference reaction. Yeah. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching.